Hello and welcome to another episode of Geek Speak. I'm your host Chris and Jon, and with me is our co-host Jon. Okay, jump straight into the news today. It's been reported recently that the Thor Ragnarok movie that is in pre-production, currently soon to open into proper production, may be adapting parts of the Planet Hulk storyline, with reports saying that the story will revolve around Thor hunting for the ultimate weapon and will include Hulk suiting up in his iconic gladiator armour. I for one am really looking forward to seeing this because, Hulk in gladiator armour is a pretty cool sight in itself, and to see this on the big screen should be incredible.
The Avengers movies were great also, so it's going to follow up well from them, I think. So I think it'll follow on nicely.
Yeah, and this will partly explain why Hulk wasn't present in the recent Captain America Civil War, and why Thor wasn't there either. In a bit of other Marvel-based news, the American station FX has picked up a new Marvel TV show in the form of Legion, which is a spin-off of the X-Men series and will focus around David Haller, the son of Charles Xavier. Now, in this show, they have stated that there will not be any of the standard X-Men characters coming in, but what they have said is that Haller's character will be someone who has been in and out of mental institutions suffering with schizophrenia, and during one of his visits in an institution, he has an encounter with another patient that makes him start to believe that the voices in his head may actually be real. I really want to see how they do this and see whether or not they can fit in some of the secondary characters from the series. What do you think, Jon?
I think it's a good start. I mean, the X-Men films never really drew me in too much, so maybe this one will be the one that gets me to really consider the series as really good.
And I think that with it being a character that's dealt with mental illness, it could be a bit difficult, but it should go okay, as long as they don't try to put too much of a negative light on it, which will cause a lot of negative outcry from the mental health community. Another recent bit of also Marvel-related news, this is a very Marvel-heavy episode, we have heard that Namor, also known as the Submariner, a fairly recurring character in the Fantastic Four universe, has come home to Marvel. In a recent appearance on Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman, the Marvel CCO, or Chief Creative Officer, Joe Quesada, has revealed that it is not Sony or Fox who holds the right to the character, and went on to state, when asked, that he could neither confirm nor deny whether the character would be appearing in an upcoming Marvel film. Now, I have to say, when you look at the comparisons between Namor and any other comic book character, probably the closest comparison would be Aquaman, which Jon and I were talking about earlier, and it's not the best comparison, is it?
No, not really. He's a bit more serious than Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman is seen by many as being kind of a joke character in comic books.
Is Aquaman done right?
Yeah, basically. Namor has a lot of the powers that Aquaman has, with the strength, the toughness, the ability to... he doesn't have the ability to communicate with sea life that Aquaman often has, but the one power that Namor does have, thanks to for some reason, wings on his ankles is the ability to fly. And I think this is a bit more of a magic-based ability, but both characters are the kings of Atlantis, and it would be great to see the Marvel Namor in an upcoming movie, since we're soon to be seeing Aquaman himself, not only in a Justice League movie, but also in an Aquaman standalone.
They've got to do it right, though. I mean, he is a marginal character. Not many people know him, so if they do it right, it could bring him and the franchise a bit more knowledge.
Well, he is well known to those in the Fantastic Four comic book fandom as one of his first recurrences was thanks to Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, finding this person in a homeless shelter and realizing he was the Silver Age hero, Namor, the Submariner, who in the original comic series actually worked alongside Captain America in World War II.
Should be interesting.
It would be nice if they could bring that character into it and then have some sort of interaction between him and Captain America.
Yeah.
Could possibly be a way for Captain America to get back in the good graces of the public. Now, one of the other big stories, again, more Marvel news, the website and magazine Variety has had a recent report on casting news for the Captain Marvel movie. Now, over the last year and a half, 2 years that we've been hearing about this movie, there have been a lot of rumours about this character, with actresses either throwing their hats into the rings or with people fan casting their favourite actress as this character. Some of the casting rumours have been MMA champion Ronda Rousey, actress Emily Blunt, Charlize Theron, Rebecca Ferguson, Olivia Wilde, Sienna Miller, Alice Eve, and Brie Larson. Now, I will have images of all of them up on the video in somewhere around us, but this most recent report touts Brie Larson as being the current frontrunner. Now, most recently she's given an Oscar-winning performance for the movie The Room. However, comic lovers like you and me probably remember her role of Envy Adams from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Yeah, that was
awesome. One thing I didn't actually realise the first time I watched this movie was that the scene in which she sings in the movie, that is actually her singing. And it's quite a good song.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see this. I mean, a lot of people wanted Ronda Rousey to play this role because she had the physicality to play a character who was a US Air Force officer turned superhero. But with all of the nuances that the character has had, even if I don't go into them in the short time of this movie, it is possible that having a well-established actress, someone who is known for having given a powerful performance, could do the character more justice on screen. Now,
I think it'd be a good bet to go with her. She's got plenty of experience behind her. I mean,
yeah.
It should be interesting.
I mean, she's been in a lot of things. The first thing I saw her in was a TV show, The C Word, and this is very much... This character in the comics has had a lot of difficulty with losing her powers, being kidnapped by an alien race and experimented on, giving her a new source for her powers, losing those powers and regaining her original powers again. and a short stint of alcoholism before getting back into the swing of things. And throughout those time periods, she's been in and out of the Avengers themselves. So I think there's a possibility that they may use this character as a military frontwoman alternative to Captain America, since he's now, after the events of Civil War, he's not the most liked person on America's list. I don't think he's on their Christmas card list anymore. I think they might find a way to tout her as the new military example of excellence. I mean, what do you think for this being a character who was in the military getting superpowers?
I pretty much agree. Like, I don't think they've got several ways they could do it, but I reckon that would be the way that the fans could see it going in popular majority.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see if they tie her in any with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because the source of her powers was a Kree, a member of the Kree race, and the Kree were, well, a Kree was the main villain for the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So it would be interesting to tie them in, and we've also got the links to the Kree that we've seen in all 3 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. And the last bit of news is, it's actually a bit less serious, it's a bit on the comical side for us, and that's that Pokemon fans in Hong Kong have recently protested plans by Nintendo to change the localization of the Pokemon games in their area. Now this change, for most this change wouldn't be a big one. It would take the localization from Cantonese to simplified Chinese or Mandarin. The problem that they have is that it would change the pronunciation of pretty much the entire franchise. All of the games would have different pronunciations, all of the iconic monsters would have different pronunciations, most notably that of Pikachu, who currently their pronunciation is somewhere along the lines of Pikachu, but would be changing to Pikachu. Now,
it's just funny, like.
Yeah, even I find this a bit ridiculous. I mean, one protester actually speaking to a Western news source turned around and said that this is kind of like, for an English-speaking audience, them changing the pronunciation to Pikachu.
It just doesn't make sense, but like.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the major thing here is that Nintendo is trying to, instead of having Hong Kong be one localization zone and then mainland China be another localization zone, they're trying to bring basically that mainland China and Hong Kong into the one localization, so all versions of the game in that area would be the same and would have the same text and the same pronunciation.
I don't think it'll affect any of the sales though, so.
Probably not. I mean, not
going to do anything.
A lot of these people that are complaining are probably about my age, who grew up like in
this way.
late school that had it like this, and they just want to keep things the way they've been for the last 20 odd years.
Because they just love them so much.
Well, that, and it's kind of something that they've had, like I said, for 20 years. I mean, you're in your early 20s now, you wouldn't want something that's been one way your entire life to suddenly change overnight.
That would be annoying.
Yeah, it'd be like us here in Australia suddenly having to speak German or French or Italian or something. Something that we haven't spent the last 20 years speaking. And on one hand, I can understand why they're so angry, and on the other hand, I look at this and I just think, how is this a serious news story? And it kind of is, and it
kind of
isn't. So it is something that will really affect them, but it's not something that will really affect anyone else. Now, our final recommendations for this episode. I'm going to recommend an anime that I've recently been watching. It's currently airing in Japan. It's up to its 9th episode, I believe. I can't for the life of me remember or pronounce the entire name. Not in Japanese anyway. It basically translates to life in another world starting from zero. It's a story about a guy who gets summoned to another world, and the only ability he has there is that he gets automatically revived backwards in time after he dies. So if he dies, he would go back anywhere from a day to a couple of days to a point where he could learn the information to stop the events that led to him dying. And it's quite an interesting series as we see him struggle through this, but I will straight warn that the first episode or two may get on a lot of people's nerves because the character does point out a lot of the tropes of this particular genre. John, do you have a recommendation this week?
Yeah, I recommend the game UFO AI. It's currently at 2.5, the version, but it's a great game. It's kind of your XCOM style game, but it's very early stages of XCOM. It's not as polished or anything like that, but it's got a lot of difficulty there, a lot of challenges. So if you found XCOM 2 or XCOM a bit boring, I mean, if you want a challenge, this game is so difficult. I haven't been able to finish it yet, but I'm working towards finishing it. Hopefully I will finish it soon. It's definitely not as polished. You can't hide behind cover. Overwatch is very difficult. Costs a lot of movement points and stuff, so it's very interesting.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for being with us today, and we'll see you all next week.